Hello and welcome to another lawnfawn video. And today we're going to be having a lot of fun combining a bunch of different stamp sets. So first up here I have my mini MISTI and I'm putting some white cardstock in there. And I'm going to take some stamps first from the Lawnfawn's Plain and Simple stamp set, and I'm going to layer those all there onto my white cardstock. And then I'm also going to take some stamps from our Elphie Selfie stamp set. So that cute little mouse is going to go there. And then I'm going to take another critter here from Upon a Star. And I just love mixing and matching these stamp sets. And so once these are all ready, I can go ahead and pick them up with my MISTI, and I'm going to stamp them with some Lawnfawn's Jet Black ink, which is perfect for Copic coloring. And I like to do it in the MISTI because I like to stamp them twice to make them nice and bold. So I'm stamping it there a second time, and now I'm going to have a really nice bold black line for my images. And then I'm just going to double stamp one more cloud. So next I'm going to use my Copic markers to color in these images, and I'm using some really light blues for the clouds, putting the blue along the outside edges and then blending it into the middle with my colorless blender just to give the clouds a little extra something but leave the middle part of it white. Then next up I'm going to use a really light pink for my fun little cloud smoke there in the shape of a heart, and then blend that out with the colorless blender too. And then I'm using some nice really light browns and blending out with the colorless blender again. There's a theme here. And then here, these are my favorite colors for bunnies, E31 and E34. And so I'm using my darker shade all around the ears and kind of where all of the curves are on the stamps. And it really gives it a nice three-dimensional look with just two markers. And then I'm going to color in my mouse first with some warm grays, and then I thought he looked too gray, so I layered that E41 on top and the E53, and so mixing the warm grays with the browns makes a really cute mouse color. So next I'm going to use the coordinating dies for these different sets and line those up with my stamped images and run it through my die cut machine to get some perfectly cut out images. And I always love revealing them when I push them out of the die. I always think it just looks so cool. Now here I have an X-Acto knife and I am running it along one of the edges of the paper airplane. So you can see there that I'm going really slowly along that edge of the line and then moving down towards that bottom point. And so I'm making sure to go really slowly so I don't make any mistakes, and you'll see that now I have a little opening in my paper airplane that my little mouse can sit inside of that airplane. Now when I cut it there, it wasn't obviously a perfect edge, so I'm taking my black marker and just filling that in so that it looks nice and clean when my little mouse is writing inside of his paper airplane. Now this card was originally a card by my friend Elena that was so incredible, and so I asked her if I could make it for this video. So thank you so much, Elena, for being completely amazing. Okay, so now I've got my little paper airplane perfect for the mouse, and I've got some Bristol smooth cardstock here that I'm going to be using for some ink blending, and I'm using Minty Fresh, Mermaid, and Moonstone Lawnfawn inks with a Ranger ink blending tool to kind of lightly put that ink onto my cardstock. So I start off with the cardstock and then I go onto the cardstock, slowly building up the color. So I'm just going to go ahead and build up that beautiful green Minty Fresh color, and then we're going to go in some fast motion here. We're going to go from Minty Fresh to Mermaid, layering the Mermaid a little bit over the Minty Fresh line, and then taking my Minty Fresh and going back over that line again to make it look really smooth. And now the same thing with Moonstone. So I'm going to layer over the edge of the Mermaid ink, just like that, and then eventually I'll go back with my Mermaid ink into the Moonstone once again to make it a seamless line between those two colors, creating a really cool gradient sky. And so you'll see I'm going back and forth with all of my colors until I really like how it looks. Now here is a stitch cloud backdrop die. I'm going to layer that on top of my cool sky, run it through my die cut machine, and I am obsessed with how these clouds look. So here I'm taking an oldie but a goodie, one of these little fantastic little sticks here, and I'm putting it into some Yeti pigment ink, which is some white pigment ink. But you could also use a Q-tip. That would work perfectly for this. And so I'm lining all of the clouds a little bit with the white pigment ink, and it really makes them look three-dimensional. Mixed with the stitching, it almost makes it look quilted. I think it's so beautiful. Now here is the largest of my outside in stitched rectangle and the medium of my outside in stitched circle. And so I'm going to run that piece with my outside in stitched rectangle and then take that circle and put that on the middle there, kind of middle top, and run that through so that I have an opening with a little stitched border around it, which is so pretty. Now I'm trimming down some white cardstock to go behind my scene, and I'm going to take some picked raspberry distress ink and blend that onto the cardstock here to create this really cool pink background. And so I'm going on kind of a little messy, and I'm making sure that parts of it are darker than others and lighter so that there's a nice kind of dynamic look to it. So you'll see it's darker on the left and lighter on the right, just to make it look kind of different. Now right now I am dipping a paintbrush in some water, and I'm going to flick it across an acrylic block to create some water splatters, but that are kind of more controlled, because if I don't do it this way, I always end up with too big of water splatters. So I'm going to splatter that on there, and once I've got kind of my perfect look, I'm going to take a piece of paper towel and blot up some of that water, and that's going to give this kind of pinkish area a really cool dynamic look. So you'll see I'll blot up that water, and I just think it looks really, really cool, especially when it's layered behind that sky. So now I'm going to take some of those clouds that I die cut earlier and layer them into this circle. So I'm going to add some, tape runner on the back of them and just layer them into the perfect spots there. And then once I have those all in the right spot, I'm going to actually go back through and add some more of the Fantastics because I wanted it to be even whiter around the cloud. So I'm going through with that little Fantastic there, or a Q-tip would work perfect, using some white pigment ink and layering those clouds. Now I'm going to take that same outside in rectangle and cut another piece of white cardstock, and then use a lawnfawn simple stitched hillside border die to cut a nice little hill. And then here I'm using some celery stick ink and just lightly blending around all of the edges to create a really pretty grass to go along with this scene. Then next I'm going to stamp the Miss You Already from the Plain and Simple stamp set, and then add some foam tape to the back and layer that on top of my card. And now the fun part, I can finish decorating. So I'm going to add that cute little bunny that was from Upon a Star, and then we're going to take that little heart smoke and the paper airplane with the mouse in it and layer that over the little pink portion of the sky. Then next I'm going to create a standard size card at 5.5 by 4.25. And then I can go ahead and layer my whole panel on top of that. And I love the white border around this really fun scene. And so I just had so much fun making this card. That white around the clouds looks so cool. I can't wait to do that to all of my clouds. And all of that stitching really, to me, makes it look quilted and look really whimsical. I just think it's so gorgeous. So thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!